Hello and welcome to Factual Insider, the channel that strives to cover as many facts as possible. Today we will be discussing 10 facts about the Carter 5 that you may not know. If you find any of the facts to be interesting, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. With that being said, let's get started. Number 1. Before the Carter 5 would release on September 28, 2018, Lil Wayne released the previous installment of his Carter series of albums, which was the Carter 4 that released back on August 29, 2011, which was over a 7-year gap between both albums. Historically, the Carter series has seen a release from Lil Wayne with a 3-year time gap between albums, with the exception of the original Carter entry and the Carter 2, which had a year and a half between the two album releases. While many fans of Weezy and hip-hop enthusiasts were very well aware of some of Wayne's unfortunate circumstances, new fans of the Holly Grove rapper may have missed out on the events that took place before the arrival of the Carter 5. Shooting for a release in 2014, Lil Wayne originally planned for the release of the Carter 5 about 3 years after the release of the Carter 4. Unfortunately, Wayne would claim that Cash Money Records, along with Birdman, who is the co-owner of the label, did not allow Wayne to release the album, and that over $50 million were owed to Tunchi. This would result in a giant legal battle between Wayne and Cash Money Records, which resulted in the album having multiple delays and would end up being released through the Young Money label only instead of both Cash Money and Young Money after Wayne gained full ownership of the Young Money label. Number 2. The previous installments of the Carter series before the Carter 5's release featured a baby on the front cover of both the Carter 3 and the Carter 4. The baby that was featured on the covers of both Wayne albums were inspired by classic hip-hop albums, which also featured a baby on their covers, such as Ready to Die by the Notorious Big and Illmatic by Nas. With the cover of the Carter 5, fans can still see a young child on the album's cover along with a woman. It would be during an interview on ESPN's Sports Center back in 2014 that Wayne would confirm that woman on the album's cover would be in fact Wayne's mother. He also mentioned that she didn't like her photo on the cover, but he viewed the new image as an achievement. Number 3. It should come as no surprise that after over a 7-year wait for a new entry into the Carter series of albums to finally come, the release caught a lot of attention. With the new success that Wayne would receive, the Carter 5 would help Wayne obtain a new record within music. Of course, the Carter 5 featured the songs Mona Lisa, which featured Kendrick Lamar, and Don't Cry, which featured XXXTentacion after his death earlier that year. Both singles would actually land on the Billboard Hot 100, with Mona Lisa at the number 2 spot and Don't Cry at the number 5 spot. With both singles being in the top 5, this allowed Wayne to become recognized as the first recording artist in history to have 2 singles in the top 5. Number 4. With a release that would be 4 years late compared to the original release schedule, the Carter 5 has to be easily one of Wayne's most difficult and time-consuming releases that the Holly Grove native has ever worked on. While after the release of the Carter 5, fans and music listeners alike would receive new releases from Weezy, it did not always seem that way. After the Carter 4 was released back on August 29, 2011, Wayne would obviously begin work on the next installment of the Carter series afterwards. It would be back in 2012 that Wayne would announce 2 years prior, before the original release date of the Carter 5, that he would plan to release the new entry into the Carter series, and the 5th entry would be the final entry into Tunchi's roster of music before he would retire. Of course, Wayne would change his mind later on and would proceed with other plans. Number 5. With an album that took 4 years to release after its original scheduled release, Wayne certainly jumped through a lot of hoops to make the album's release become a reality to both his fans and music listeners. Of course, being an album that is part of series, there of course are some similarities with its previous releases. After all, there have to be similarities with previous entries to help any sequel have relevancy with its background. Both the Carter 3 and the Carter 4 were both releases from Weezy that had album leaks before their scheduled releases, but with the Carter 5, there was a special exception. With the Carter 5, Wayne recorded many songs that were considered to go onto the album that never made it on the album's track list. The following year, into 2019, the Carter 5 would end up becoming leaked online after its release in 2018, but this time, it wouldn't be the entire album that would have all the scheduled songs for release, but instead what would have been the original track list for the Carter 5. Number 6. After the release of the Carter 4 back on August 29, 2011, Fans of Wheezy certainly enjoyed the Holly Groves rapper's latest release at the time, but among music critics, it had worse ratings than the Carter 3, which received stellar reviews among critics, while the Carter 4 had mixed reviews that slightly leaned positive. For the Carter 5, things would improve for Tune Chi after fans got the release of the 5th installment of the Carter series. Critics would have better reviews for the Carter 5, with mostly positive reviews, with the lowest rating coming from both New Musical Express and The Observer, which both gave the Carter 5 a 3 out of 5, while the highest rating for the album came from XXL, which gave the album a 4 out of 5. Number 7. Before the Carter 5 would face multiple delays over the span of 4 years, and Wayne would get involved with a massive legal battle against Cash Money Records. Wayne would use a music promotion tactic that has been used in the music industry for many years to help promote the Carter 5 before its original scheduled release back in 2014. Wheezy would release 7 singles to fans and music listeners, with the first single being Believe Me, which featured Drake as a guest artist. The 6 other remaining singles were DSA, Crazy, Off Day, Start a Fire, Gotta, and Grind. The best performing single was Believe Me, which peaked at 26 on the Billboard Hot 100, while the worst performing singles were Start a Fire and Off Day, which both failed to even chart onto the Billboard, unfortunately. Number 8. With an album that came with more difficulty to release than any other past project that Wheezy has ever put out, it of course came with a lot of adjustments to make the album release become a reality for both fans and music listeners, but also to release a quality project. Just like many other rappers, including Lil Wayne, there were also definitely songs that were scrapped from the track list of the Carter 5. Of course, with an album that took an extra 4 years to release, it had a large list of other artists that offered their contributions. With the final release of the Carter 5, it included many different featured artists, which include but were not limited to Snoop Dogg, Nicki Minaj, Kendrick Lamar, Travis Scott, and more. However, before the Carter 5 was released on September 28, 2018, there were many other artists that could have also been on the 5th installment of the Carter 5 if certain songs weren't scrapped. Some of these artists include Justin Bieber, The Game, French Montana, The Weeknd, Meek Mill, Rich Homie Quan, and more. Unfortunately, the exact reason as to why some of the songs were scrapped are unknown, but of course it can easily be said that the list of artists that could have been heard on the album's track list is definitely a larger list than compared to what is normal when comparing to an album without as many delays. Number 9. Having a 4-year gap between the original release date of the Carter 5 back in 2014 with its actual release in the fall of 2018, it can easily be said that a lot of time has passed between the two dates. While many fans of Wheezy may remember and were very fortunate enough to experience what Wayne would do in the meantime, new listeners of the Holly Grove native may never experience some of Wayne's strategies firsthand. With label issues that prevented Wayne from releasing official albums, he would resort to another promotion tactic that he has used since the early days of the first Carter entries. Wayne would release the mixtapes Sorry for the Wait 2, No Ceilings 2, and FWA, the free Wheezy album that was exclusively released on Jay-Z's streaming platform Tidal. Wayne knew the importance of trying to stay relevant and keeping fans happy, which was why he released the projects. He would also jump on other tracks as a featured artist for other songs such as Love You Better by Ty Dolla $ign. It did make things difficult having label issues, with one occasion when Wayne would collaborate with 2 Chainz on the Holly Grove album, which had 2 Chainz credited as the main artist due to the label disputes of Cash Money Records. For both fans and music listeners, but also to release a quality project. Number 10. Obviously, as mentioned from before, Wayne made many adjustments and changes before the final release of the Carter 5. This of course included changes of the songs that were added onto the album's track list, release date, album cover, and more. There were of course many different artists that could have been featured guests on the long-awaited album, but some fans of Young Money noticed that one artist wasn't on the project and wondered why he didn't make it. With Lil Wayne having full ownership of the Young Money label when he finally released the Carter 5, it allowed him to keep the artists that were tied to Young Money, such as Nicki Minaj and Drake. Drake has been a big name in hip-hop for many years, as has to be one of the most important artists that Wayne has ever worked with. After all, Wayne has responsibility for helping the Toronto native get to where he is at today. With the song, Dope New Gospel, which made it onto the Carter 5, it was originally meant to have Drake on the song. Unfortunately, the reason as to why Drizzy didn't make it is unknown. Please be sure to check out our other video, 10 interesting facts about Drake you may not know. Well, there you have it. Those were 10 facts about the Carter 5 that you may not know. Hope that the video was enjoyable and entertaining. You are encouraged to watch more facts about hip-hop and other miscellaneous topics. See you next time.